Hi peeps, I'm Ariel Grace, and today we're going to be talking about the underworld according to Greek mythology. So I have never met a person who is not interested in what heaven or the different parts of heaven or the different parts of hell look like. And so that is a question that I'm always asked is, are my parents okay? They passed away 10 years ago. And so from what I understand from speaking to spirits is that once you go through the veil, you're good. You're okay. And you got things to do, people to see, and places to go. Plus, hang out with maybe those people that you were affectionate for when you were alive in your previous lifetime. So, um, I have all kinds of questions about that. So I thought, since we were doing Greek mythology, that we would take a look at the underworld and the creatures that reside within it, according to Greek mythology. Okay, so Hades is the lord of the underworld, and from what I understand, reading about him, he is a law-abiding, justice, kind of balance out type of person. Like he'll hear your story, and if he feels like it's justifiable, he will assist you. So, I thought, wow, all right. Because a lot of people think of him as being this, mean, nasty person, but he's not. He resides over the underworld. So he resides over um, hell, or what they call Tartarus. Okay, so Tartarus is the separate place. Um, the Asphodel Fields and the Elysium Fields, and some places in between as well. So we're going to talk about a couple of the creatures or those that reside in Hades that assist him in some way, shape, or form. Okay? All right, so the first person we're going to be talking about, she's a nymph, and her name's Styx. And everyone has heard of the river Styx, right? So she is the daughter of Oceanus, and her punishment for siding with the Titans against Zeus was he turned her into the river Styx. Yeah, so you have to go across the river Styx uh, to get into the underworld, and so she's the one that guides it, and you have to take the boat, Chiron's boat, across the river Styx. So that is the first. She's the first part of this, like the first guard or boundary. So the river Styx is a river that separates the world from the living and the underworld. All right. So and I'm going to call it the underworld because there are living beings in the underworld. They're just not. It's not just those who have passed away. All right. So it provides the main transportation to into Tartarus. So yeah. So the Styx is one of the 5 rivers that converge upon the marshy center of the underworld. So there's this central area that's kind of gooky. You don't want to get in there because you might get stuck. So Styx can give invulnerability to anyone who bathes there. All right. So like Achilles, his mother wanted to make sure that nothing could hurt him. So she took him by the foot and she dunked him in the river Styx so that, and she pulled him out so that he wouldn't get hurt. Unfortunately, during the Trojan War, her hand was covering his heel, and that's where he got hit by the arrow and died. So that's where he was vulnerable because not everything could be like stuck down into the Styx, right? So that's where we get Achilles heel from. So he was shot by Paris and died. So if you get dunked in the river Styx, like make sure that you cover every part of your body. That way you are not vulnerable. Okay? All right. So the next place, well, yeah, this is a place actually that we're going to, is Tartarus. Okay, so this is the deepest depths of Hades' realm. All right, so Tartarus is like the dungeon. And there's nothingness there. It's just void. Okay, so eventually Tartarus was deified. And he is the middle child of his brother Chaos and the younger sister Gaia. His realm remained intact through the Titans being put down there. His realm totally remained intact. Okay, so there was no breaking up of it or eliminating it in any way in any of the stories. Okay, so this is a place where like the baddies go when they pass away. So if you're a nasty little creature or human, that's where you're going. So mend your ways. Okay, you don't want to be put into the void and forgotten. No. All right. So the Elysium and the asphodel fields. Okay, so what it sounds like the asphodel fields are is like a place where you go to wait. And also for those human beings who have lived a good life, they were good people, and they lived a good life, and they can go to the asphodel fields, and it smells good, and there's always like nice, almost like sunset sunlight or sunrise sunlight, and it's just an easy place to be. It's a good place to heal, right? From one lifetime to the other. And so it's just a soft, loving place to be. That's the asphodel fields. Okay, so that's where they go. Now Elysium is where the top-notch people go, like the demigods. All the demis end up in asphodel or in Elysium, because that's like the place where those people that were awesome and helped people and did great things and all that good stuff. So that's Elysium, right? And they live great lives there. Okay, so eventually Elysium, through the stories, was separated from Hades, from the underworld. However, Hades still takes care of it, or he still overlooks the Elysium. All right, so and that's just something that happened later on in history. It did not happen originally. Originally, Elysium was part of Hades, and then it was separated out because of the storytelling, right? Okay, you still had to go through the underworld to get to Elysium though. All right, so the River Lethe, and I'm sure that you've heard of the River Lethe too. So is one of the 5 rivers of the underworld. Lethe borders the underworld of Elysium. Lethe is the river of forgetfulness. This is where the soul goes before coming back into life to forget everything that they have known. Right? So when you're in the underworld, you remember your lifetimes. You remember everything that goes on, right? But before each lifetime, you go into the River Lethe, and you bathe there so that you can forget, so you can come back into your next life being fresh and not knowing anything and just moving along from there, right? That's what we do, or some form of it in each lifetime. But I feel like even though we may go through a process like that, I feel like we do have, we do store some type of memory. Otherwise, why would we have deja vu, right? Right. Okay. So the river traces its path around the interior of the underworld, looping to the cave of Hypnos, where wayward souls were drawn to sleep for eternity. Okay, Leith has a sister named Nessamine. Okay, and I'm not sure if I'm saying this correctly, but it's spelled Memosne, who provided those who ran omniscient and infallible memory. So she help people with psychic abilities. All right, and also remembering other lifetimes and that. All right, so and I refer to her as a she because she is a female entity, the Leith River. All right. So the river Clytus and Phlegathon, Phlegathon, sorry. Clytus is the river of wailing or river of lamentations. All right, so and it flowed one way around Hades, and then the river Phlegathon flowed the other way around the underworld. All right, so we got them circling it. Both of these rivers keep souls in the underworld and also keep anything out that doesn't belong there, right? Because you don't want to have to go through that. So the coitus had varying depths. So like it would have like 6 inches, or like your head could be covered, and it just depended on your punishment, basically, because that's a river of wailing and lamentation, right? So there you go. So you could wail for all of eternity. Nice, huh? All right, so Phlegathon was turned into a burning river because of siding with the Titans. All right, so it is the only river to flow into Tartarus. So the Phlegathon was Styx' lover. So they were both nymphs, but they sided with the Titans. And so Zeus punished them. All right. So when turned into a river, Phlegathon burned his lover Styx' physical body. So Hades, having compassion for the Titans, allowed the rivers to combine as they flowed around the underworld. So see, Hades is he's compassionate. He's a nice guy, even though he kidnapped Persephone. So there are 2 plants associated with the underworld. One of them is mint, and the other one is jonquil. So Hades courted Persephone pretty hard. He kidnapped her. He took her down to Hades. He showed her like, hey, check out my cool pad. Let me give you all this stuff. I'm really a nice guy. Sorry I kidnapped you. But their story ended up that Persephone had to go back up to Earth for 6 months of the year. And she did that to help her mother, so that her mother wouldn't feel abandoned and worry about her daughter. And that way, now we have the seasons, right? So Persephone represents spring and summer. And then when she leaves, that's when Demeter goes, okay, so my daughter's gone. We're going to go through fall and winter, right? So we get the harvest, and then everything kind of goes dormant until Persephone comes back and she brings the spring. All right. So he courted her pretty hard. So she's like, all right, if you're going to be my man, you are going to be my man. You can't be messing with anybody else. So, but Hades, being a god, he decided to, flirt with a nymph named Minth. And Persephone found out. And she's like, dude, no. So she took Minth and she grabbed her up and she turned her into a mint plant and she threw her and the mint plant scattered all through the underworld and the outer world. And that's how we have mint. And so the reason why she turned her into a mint plant, or that type of plant, is because a lot of animals don't like mint. They just don't. And some people don't like mint. They don't like the smell of it. You know, it's like if you get too much of it all at once, it's like, well, but so that's how we've got mint. Yeah, don't get on Persephone's bad side. All right, so the next plant is a flower, and it's a jonquil. All right, so it grows along the river Styx throughout the asphodel field. It is the vain young man Narcissus who was transformed into a jonquil, right? So the jonquil is fragrant and poisonous. As Persephone was dragged down to Hades, she grabbed a bunch of the flowers and lost them as she was brought into Hades' domain. So they were spread throughout Hades' domain as well. Yeah. Pretty cool, huh? All right. So Cerebus. Now, Cerebus, we're going to be talking about him in a minute. First, we're going to talk about the offspring of, he is the offspring of Ecdna and Typhon. Okay. So, Cerebus is one of my favorite creatures. And a lot of people are like, why? Well, I love big dogs, and Cerebus is a big dog. And he's a big guard dog too, so everybody's afraid of him, right? But from what I understand, there's different stories about Cerebus, and you know, he likes different things. And if you bring him a gift, or if you bring him something like a red ball to play with, you bring him certain types of flowers or cookies, things like that, he's going to be a little bit more, he might listen to you for a minute before he bites your head off. But, you know, something to think about. All right, so Cerebus is described in so many ways. Like, I looked up, like, there's all these descriptions. There's descriptions of him having like 100 heads, being as big as a house, with snake heads and a snake tail, like eyeballs all around his one head, just crazy stuff. But my favorite one is the three-headed Cerebus, who basically looks like a big humongous dog, like as big as a man. And he's pretty diligent about his course around Hades, about guarding Hades. He's also Hades' best friend. So he's like great about, you know, guarding the underworld. He does his patrols and stuff. He's Hades' best friend. They do stuff together. They've been together since Hades came into being. Okay. So, and Hades brought him down to the underworld, and you know, they're buds. He sits with Hades when Hades is passing judgment and helps him out. So, Cerebus only went to the overworld once. And the reason why he did that is because Hercules came down and spoke to Hades, and he told him, he's like, hey, I've had these 12 labors to do. This is like my last labor. I got to bring Cerebus up to the overworld so I can show him off so that they'll release me from these labors. Please help me. And Hades, being the judicious person that he is, he said, yeah, you can bring Cerebus up there, but you have to beat him down first. So Hercules was able to beat down Cerebus. Maybe he threw him a bunch of oatmeal cookies, who knows. And he brought him out of Hades. And as he brought him out of Hades, like, you know, Cerebus got sick and he threw up, and he created this with the vomit was created these plants called monkshood, and it's horrible. It's poisonous. If you come near it, walk away from it because it'll kill you. Okay, so that's how that plant originated through mythology. And Hercules brought Cerebus up, and he brought him up to show King Eurystheus, Greek names, and he was able to be released from his 12 labors. So as soon as that happened, Hades was like, Cerebus was like, yeah, I'm done. You're done. I'm done. I'm going home. And so he left. And that was the only time that he came up out of the underworld. Otherwise, he stays and he guards and he patrols his home. Okay, so that's what I have for you for the underworld of Greek mythology. And I'll be doing some more underworld videos too of the other mythologies, because I want to share like what is similar and what is different in each culture. I think that's really important, because once we understand other people's cultures, then we start to understand each other, right? Yeah. All right. So have a great week. I'll see you Sunday night. Remember, keep your hearts open and align with the energy of love. Bye.